All right, so welcome everyone to MapTime Davis. My name is Michelle Tobias. I am the Geospatial Data Specialist at UC Davis Data Lab. What MapTime is, for the new folks who are joining us, is it's a meetup. Usually before the pandemic, it happened in person most of the time, but now we're on Zoom for, for the convenience of that. And we focus on teaching people skills in the geospatial realm. And the idea of map time is just literally to have time for making maps. It's kind of a phenomenon that's gone global. It started in San Francisco, and now there are map time meetups in most major cities around the world, which is super awesome. So if you ever see an ad for a map time event while you're traveling, go check it out. Like, we have folks joining us from all over the world sometimes while we're online, and people visiting are welcome to join as well when we're in person. So with that brief introduction into map time. Oh, I should tell you before I forget, we have a couple more workshops coming up this quarter. We've had a really awesome slate of workshops so far, but especially for you guys here who are interested in ArcGIS tools, next week we're going to have another workshop in the same kind of vein with ArcGIS field maps. So if you're interested in learning some more of the ArcGIS possibilities, we have that next week at the same time. And then following that, on November 9th, we're going to have a workshop on PostGIS. So if you're interested in learning spatial SQL and working with, we're going to be working with the crunchy data tutorials for PostGIS. And so all of that's online. So it's a great way to get an intro to spatial SQL and PostGIS without having to install a bunch of software. And then finally, we're going to wrap up the quarter on November 16th. I'll be teaching a workshop on Intro to Desktop GIS with QGIS. So if you're interested in trying out a different set of desktop GIS software, you are welcome to join us for that. And I encourage you to sign up for any of those workshops. And I'll paste in the chat the links to that schedule so you can register and all of that if you haven't seen that yet. So with that, what I'd like to do is introduce Karen Beardsley. I've known Karen for a really long time. We went to grad school together, one of the geography alumni that are around and doing amazing things in the world. So Karen is going to give us a workshop today on getting started with ArcGIS Online. So I'm just going to hand it over to Karen and let her introduce herself for whatever of the amazing suite of things she does that she wants you to know about. So take it away, Karen.
Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, it's great. It has been a long time, Michelle, since we first met. Some of us have been at Davis a long time, and it's been exciting to see all the changes that have happened, and very excited to be here today to share with you the tools that are available to everyone. I will say that I'm going to be focusing entirely on Esri tools. That's a little bit off topic from many of the other things that happen in this workshop. So I think it's important to have both perspectives, and many people that I know sometimes use open source GIS and sometimes use Esri products. One of the main things I want to focus on today is the fact that you all, if you're at UC Davis, particularly if you're a UC Davis student, staff, or faculty, which I assume is most of you, although some of you may not be, that's okay. There's options for you too. But if you are part of UC Davis, including Humphrey Fellows, of which one of them at least is on the call. Hello, Sheila. You have access to our ArcGIS Online organizational account for UC Davis. And these organizational accounts are there's many of them. So depending on the organization, you could be a member of more than one, of which I am. And these accounts let you work with GIS online and do quite an amazing suite of things. Let me back up a sec before I get too far into that and just let you know sort of who I am and why I'm talking to you today. So again, as Michelle said, my name is Karen Beardsley, and I've been at UC Davis. Oh my goodness, I was an undergraduate in 1981. That tells you I was about 3 years old when I came as an undergrad. No, I'm lying. But I came to UC Davis in 1981, got my undergraduate degree in applied mathematics. Then I decided I worked for a year doing satellite. Let's see, I was developing curriculum for satellite operations for an Air Force contractor. And I was all ready to move to Colorado Springs, Colorado, and continue along this path. And I decided I needed something very different in my life. I was not happy. So I joined the Peace Corps. And when I joined the Peace Corps, I ended up going to Kenya for 2 years. I lived in a couple of different places, but was in a rural village teaching math and science and English and home economics and sort of whatever was thrown my way. At the end of my 2 years as a Peace Corps volunteer in Kenya, I decided I wanted to work on some kind of interesting project having to do with conservation. I ended up working for an elephant conservationist, and he needed someone to do his GIS for him. So I immediately agreed, yes, I'll do your GIS. Oh, it has to do with conserving elephants. That's awesome. And then I said, what does GIS stand for, by the way? Because I had no idea what GIS was. But because I had a degree in math and computer science, with an emphasis in computer science anyway, it was assumed that I could pick up GIS. So I got 2 weeks of training in GIS, and then I was set loose in 1989. So the software was very different then. It's come a long way since then. I proceeded to work on a project to estimate elephant populations for the continent of Africa as a young 20-something-year-old who just learned GIS that, a couple months earlier. So very exciting project to start out with. I guess then I was pretty much hooked, and I went on and got my master's degree in geography, and came to work at UC Davis for many years. And while there, that's when I got my PhD as well as part of the geography graduate group. I also then worked for about 20 years in a research group called the Information Center for the Environment in the Department of Environmental Science and Policy. I then got involved in some more international work, thought that was really great, and ended up doing a Fulbright in Bhutan. And I went and taught there and set up GIS system there, and then came back and decided I wanted to change my career a little bit. And I now work full-time for Global Affairs on campus. I'm Director of Global Professional Programs. So I'm an administrator. I'm not a GIS person anymore, but I have woven GIS into my position, and I'll show you some of that today. So that's just a bit of history, just so you get a sense of who I am and what my background is. I love GIS. I love teaching GIS. I teach for continuing and professional education. So I'm really excited to walk through with you, as I was saying, those opportunities that are available to all of you who are on campus. If there's anyone on the call who is not a part of UC Davis, could you raise your hand or indicate that somehow? If you're not part of UC Davis. Okay, seeing none. Oh, Naomi, you're not part of UC Davis, but you know all this stuff anyway. I don't need to. So,
yeah, technically I'm a staff affiliate. So
you're a staff affiliate. Good enough. Yeah.
Yeah,
good.
and I do have my own personal ArcGIS account.
Yeah, and that's what I think. If anyone needs to know how to do that, maybe Naomi could help out and share how you can get your own personal account too, if you're not part of an organization. Okay. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get through. I have a relatively short PowerPoint, so I'm just going to be talking to you for a little bit, giving some background. Let me share screen too, and I need everyone to tell me if they in fact see.
Looks good.
It does? Okay,
yep.
You're seeing the getting started with ArcGIS Online.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so what I'm going to cover today is just this overview of ArcGIS, just kind of all these things that are covered in that ArcGIS suite. And then we're going to hone in on ArcGIS Online, and I'm going to walk you through how to get started with that. General public, again, I'm not going to get into that since it seems everyone's part of UC Davis, but Naomi, we can give Naomi, maybe Naomi, you can put your email address in the chat in case people have questions about how to set up a personal account. Okay, I'm going to give a demonstration of creating, I'm going to show you some examples, and then I'm going to give you a demonstration of how you can create a really simple survey. Then you create a web map, and then you can make that into a dashboard. So I'll show you some more complex examples of how these things can work together, but then we're going to each of you will create your own, a simple survey, a web map, and then a dashboard. And you'll see how those things all connect. So that's kind of the workshop-y part of it. And then I'm also going to share with you some general resources for how to learn more, where to go from here. This is also, as Michelle mentioned, this is a precursor to next week's session, which I highly encourage you to attend. So this one is just to get you started. And then next week, 2 representatives from Esri will be here to talk about Esri field maps, which is for anybody who does field work. And this is a really powerful way that, again, combines these various apps together in a way that makes it easier for you to collect field data and to have that stored and linked and communicated out to others. Okay, hope I'm not going too fast here. So let's start with our overview of ArcGIS. So hardware. To do probably a lot of the GIS that you may have seen or thought about, you need a computer. For ArcGIS Online, you don't necessarily even need a computer, but we'll get there in a minute. So from Esri's perspective, the GIS hardware is called ArcGIS Pro. And we are not going to talk about or look at ArcGIS Pro today. That is sort of the desktop. You put it on your computer. You have access to it, just like all the other tools I'll show you today. As a UC Davis person, you have access to ArcGIS Pro. And so if you want to get into very detailed analysis and working with spatial data and such, doing big projects, you will want to use that. You can take the results of what you do or the data that you have in ArcGIS Pro, and you can actually then bring that into ArcGIS Online. So I will show you some examples today of what some of my students have done in the past few years. So I teach the LDA 150, LDA ABT 150 Intro to GIS class in the summer. At least I have since 2018. So for 4 years in a row, I've taught that class as a summer session. The first 2 years, I taught it as a study abroad class in Bhutan, where I mentioned I had been a Fulbright scholar. And so we do a study abroad class where for 4 weeks, I teach that LDA ABT 150 class, and we take students to Bhutan to do that. Bhutan is a small kingdom sort of near Nepal in the Himalaya mountains. It's a pretty amazing place. The last 2 years, of course, with the pandemic, I've been teaching at the UC Davis level summer class, and it was the 6-week class, and I taught that virtually for the past 2 years. So there's also GIS hardware that's enterprise and server based, and we won't be getting into that today. But there's some things you can do with your smartphones, tablets, even your watches. Mostly I think the stuff we're going to look at today would be you could actually create things on a tablet. When you get to a smartphone, it's pretty small. Things today are pretty cross-platform and integrated. You've probably been hearing a bit about that if you attend other workshops. So definitely that's true here. What's happened over the years is the hardware has gotten better, and so has the software. But the way things have really moved in many cases is into the cloud. And even Michelle mentioned that in what did you call PostGIS, I think, Michelle? And there's many things you could do in the cloud, and that's great because then it doesn't really matter what computer you have, you're doing everything up in the cloud. So lots of great capabilities there. So as I mentioned, GIS software, you have these desktop products. QGIS is a desktop project that Michelle's going to talk about in a couple of weeks, and that's open source and free. ArcGIS Pro is what I just mentioned, which is an Esri product, and it's not free normally, but it is free to you while you're here at UC Davis and while you're affiliated with UC Davis. So it's a great option, and it is something that down the road, if you have skills in ArcGIS Pro, that can often be helpful in getting a job. It can also be helpful in even if you don't have access to ArcGIS Pro, you'll have the skills that will allow you to learn other GIS packages pretty easily. Software for GIS is usually platform specific, although some kind of cross platforms. I can say for ArcGIS Pro, it's pretty much a Windows-based program. So if you have a Mac, you are not going to be able to use ArcGIS Pro unless you have some sort of a dual boot system that you can run a Windows operating system. So Esri is a 50-plus-year-old private company based in Redlands, California. And it was started by several graduate students from the Harvard School of Design. One of them is Jack Dangermond, who's the president and CEO of Esri. It is pretty much the global, leading software, GIS software around the world. There are some places, obviously it can be expensive. So there's a lot of thought around the fact that Esri software is too expensive. So why should I use it? And there's a lot of sort of, and the word is cracked copies of it. You can go to the streets of Bangkok and buy a cracked copy of ArcGIS Pro for $10 or something. And it probably will work for a little while and then it won't because you need to renew your license, you know, all those sorts of things. So I will say that there's a lot of advantages to having a company behind the GIS software that you're using. They're constantly updating it. You have support. But again, there can be a pretty high price tag depending on who you work for or what you're doing. So there are a series of open source options. Again, you'll hear more about that. My feeling on that, I'm biased. And my feeling is they're free, but they're not really free because you have to kind of know a lot kind of behind under the hood. But I'm going to go to Michelle's workshop and learn more about QGIS because I want to be able to be more, you know, have a more unbiased opinion of all that. So today, though, we are going to be focused on Esri software. So let's and next week as well, by the way. So Field Maps, ArcGIS Field Maps is an Esri suite of products. And one thing I will mention is if you work for higher education like we do, or even K through 12 education or a nonprofit, you can pretty much get all these tools for free or for $100, you know, a year or something. That's what Naomi was saying for a student or for personal use. It's when you are making money off of what you're doing with your GIS tools that they're going to charge you money. So, but there are really good ways that you can get these things free of charge. So an example, just this last week, I was with I'm director of the Humphrey Fellowship Program, which brings international people to, or people from around the globe to UC Davis for 10 months for non-degree professional development and leadership training. So we have 12 fellows here at UC Davis. And again, I think 2 of them at least are on this call. And so through various negotiations with the Humphrey Fellowship Program and Esri, we were able to get a Humphrey ArcGIS Online account. And now all the Humphrey Fellows, past and present, have access to the same tools that you're going to see today. So that was provided by Esri without charge because of, you know, because of the nature of the program. So it's not, I just say all that because I just want everyone to realize, don't think Esri inaccessible because it's expensive. That's not always the case. So what can you do with ArcGIS Online? You can make maps, you can share maps, you can create web mapping applications, you can collaborate with other people, whether in your organization or not, using maps and other types of tools. You can analyze and work with data. The analytical capabilities in ArcGIS Online are constantly increasing. Almost everything, I won't say that, close to everything that you can do in ArcGIS Pro is becoming available to do also in ArcGIS Online. So how do you access it? Well, there's these organizational accounts, which I mentioned, and that we will work together on setting you up if you haven't already done so, to help set you up with the UC Davis or organizational account. And again, there's many, many others. I'm sure the California State Department of Forestry and Fire Protection has an ArcGIS Online organizational account. UC Davis has one. The Humphrey Fellowship Program has one. pretty much, I'm sure the Nature Conservancy has one, World Wildlife Fund has one. So again, these are organizational accounts that are, and they are based on a credit system. So you are given or you purchase a series of credits. And as you do certain things, even storing data, those credits are used up very slowly, I might add, unless you do something really crazy, which happened to me the first year I was administering at UC Davis. But pretty much there's a lot of checks and balances to prevent people from accidentally using up their organization's credits, like all of them, which is what happened to us. In any case, pretty much those credits are available. They can be limited by person. Usually there are so many credits for a higher education organization or even our Humphrey Fellowship that it's almost like having unlimited credits. If you have a personal account, it's a little different. I think they start out with a certain number of credits, and then you may have to buy more if you're doing, depending on how much you're doing. You can share data created across, as I mentioned, from your desktop. You can share data over to ArcGIS Online. You can also take data from ArcGIS Online and bring it over to ArcGIS Pro. There are some limitations in the producers of data, and they may limit how it can be used by others. So one of the things that most my students have learned as they're trying to do this is that sometimes you find great data on something called the Living Atlas, which is this whole thousands, tens of thousands of data layers that are accessible and vetted and curated by Esri, that are really great resources for data, but you can't necessarily save them and do things with them yourself. So some of them are limited in visual only, or you can sort of create like buffers, but then you can't actually do some other kinds of things with them. So it is limited in that sense, but the data that you create, you can use however you want across platforms. Also, with ArcGIS Online, you can create very easily web mapping applications. One thing about me is I used to be a programmer. I started out learning how to program, how to write script, how to write code. My brain has gotten to where it doesn't want to do that anymore in recent years. So the closest thing that I do now is I write what's called Arcade. And I'll show you in a little bit what that means, but I don't want to write any Python or R or anything. So what I'm allowed, I can do an awful lot in ArcGIS Online and ArcGIS Pro without having to write a single line of code. So for some people, but I will say, if you are a coder, if you are a programmer, it opens the world to you in ArcGIS. So it really lets you it expands dramatically what you can do to customize and to create things in a sort of your own workflow or your own use case. So keep that in mind. So what is a web mapping application? Well, a couple that I'm going to show you today are Survey 123, which is like Survey Monkey or Qualtrics or that kind of thing, where you can create your own customized survey. That customized survey can have a map question in it, so you can have people enter locations, and then that information can be tied directly to a web map, which can be tied directly to a dashboard, which can be inserted in a story map. And these are the kinds of things I'm going to show you in a little bit. So these are just 3 things that I listed here. Survey 123, as I mentioned, it's a survey. You create a survey with your own questions. You get answers, and hopefully with those answers, you can see possibilities and you can ultimately make decisions. The survey results dynamically link to the web mapping. It's actually to the web map. I shouldn't say the web mapping application, but that's a minor vocabulary there. But so it can link to something like a dashboard. And it does that by creating what's called a web map. So you link your survey to your dashboard, which is a web map application, through a web map. And this is all a bunch of terminology that we're going to walk through step by step. So don't worry if I'm going too fast. I know I'm also talking pretty fast, so sorry about that. I get excited about this, so I like to talk about it. Okay, So again, the other thing, easy to create these things without a single line of programming. However, again, if you want to do more and more really cool customization, you can start getting in there and do some coding. Okay. Next, operations dashboard. So this is a configurable web app that lets you embed charts and gauges and maps and indicators and all those kinds of things. If any of you have looked at the Johns Hopkins COVID dashboard, it's pretty much the most viewed and well-known COVID dashboard anywhere, and it is built using operations dashboard. You can, I think right around here, you can kind of see an example of what that looks like. So those are highly customizable. It allows you to also set up monitoring of activities. So these dashboards can be real time as things are changing, data inputs coming in, they adjust, and so you can use it for performance indicator. You can track, your UPS trucks. You can, there's a lot of things you can do with this, and I'll show you some of the ways I've used this in global affairs for my current position. So it kind of lets you have this interactive and dynamic display of data. The next thing I want to talk about is story maps, and this is probably my favorite. Well, I like dashboards too, but story maps are pretty cool because it lets you author a web app that has multimedia components, including static and interactive maps. So I am going to show you again several examples of story maps. There are over 1 million, probably getting on toward 2 million story maps that have been created. These are, people also use story maps even for things like creating an interactive CV or resume. They create them to, in the case of my classes that I teach, they create a story map to write their final report. They write a story map to talk about the project that they did from start to finish. What's their question? What kind of data did they get? How did they analyze the data? What kind of results did they get? What's the next step? How are people supposed to act on the information that was the decisions or the questions that were answered as part of their project. So really powerful way of sharing stories. So I will share some information about that. We're not going to create story maps in this session. That could be another session, maybe in the winter. I'd love to do another short one and really just talk only about story maps. In any case, so are we ready to get started? It's 10:31. So what I'm going to do is, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to walk through showing you how to get your account activated, in case you haven't done that yet. So the first thing that you want to do is that you want to access our ArcGIS Pro, but we're only going to do ArcGIS Online today using with our UC Davis account. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to, if we click on this, actually, let's see, Michelle, do we have, I want to go ahead and add for everyone. I think I can do it. No, it doesn't let me add just from my hard drive. Michelle, can you add a link to that PDF that I sent you? That's the instructions.
Let me think about where we can put that.
Well, why don't I do it when we'll take a break and I'll put it in box. Well,
Okay.
This is fine for now. Let me, I'm just gonna escape out of here. Escape, okay. And I'm gonna come over to, are you guys seeing this still on your screen? My Google?
Yes.
Okay. So if I just type in ucdavis.maps.arcgis.com. Now, this is probably going to come straight to my instance, but for you, it probably won't do this. So I'm going to actually sign out. And I'm hoping this will mimic what it would look like for you. I think I have so many windows open, it's trying to sign me out of all of them. So it's kind of going to take a sec here. Okay, one other thing I'm going to do here.
Hey, Karen, while we're
Yeah.
waiting, this is Naomi. Can I ask a quick question?
Yes, of course.
Is it all right if I run through these follow along using my personal account? I do have access to the UC Davis account as an affiliate, but I was wondering if this is going to work.
It's the only thing is that you're not going to click on here. Let me steps for creating one second.
I'm all logged in as me through my personal organization. When you make your personal account,
yeah, you don't do this. Right. So you're not going to do this first part. So I'm going to go ahead while it's all confused there. So I'm going to just bring this up and I'm going to share, I will share this document with all of you as soon as maybe Michelle's figuring it out. I think if you put it into Box, then you can share it using the chat, but it can't be directly from your desktop. So, so what you're going to do is you're going to sign on to your ArcGIS using your Kerberos credentials. So the first thing that you do is you go to that maps. Is it still thinking? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. It's not supposed to be like that. Okay, so let's try this again. ucdavis.maps.arcgis.com. Okay. There we go. Okay, this is what it should look like. Something like this. If you go to just ucdavis.maps.arcgis.com, it'll look something like this. This will probably not be here. This is actually a super old one. What I want to point out is that you do not log in here. Okay, so you're like, oh, I have a login and a password. I'll just log in here. No, you're looking for Kerberos. Okay. And speak up if your screen doesn't look like this. I know the Humphrey Fellows, you might have already, so Mesam and Sheila and whoever else is here, you might have already done this. So you might just already pop right into our UC Davis organizational account. But if you never have, it should come up like this. Does anyone have anything different? Speak up. No, we're good. All right, hearing none. The next thing we would do, so never type in here. Okay, you want to go to your Kerberos login, or it may say sign in with my organizational account or something like that, but always with your organizational account. Okay, so if I click Kerberos, it should come up with something like this, right? And then it wants you to sign in with your UC Davis account. So mine is Beardsley at ucdavis.edu, and then I put in my password and do sign in. Okay, so everybody follow with me, sign in with that Kerberos account. Guess what? It might make you do Duo. Hopefully you're all familiar with Duo, where a little message comes up, you have to click OK, blah, blah, blah. Once you do all that, this is what you should see. Okay, so again, ucdavis.maps.arcgis.com. You click on the Kerberos, right? Kerberos login, you type in that your UC Davis credentials, and then you should come to this page. When you see this lovely image of UC Davis and all the farmland that surrounds us, you're in the right place. Any problems so far? Okay, how about a thumbs up if you made it work? Okay, Naomi made it work. Thumbs up. Or Sheila, you have a question. Oh, Sheila's a thumbs up. Okay, look at all these thumbs up. Okay. All right, good. We're doing great. All right. Now what? Okay, now what? Now's the fun part. Okay, so from here, in a moment, we're going to follow those instructions and we're going to go and do an exercise. But before we do that, I want to take the time to share with you some examples. Okay, so I'm going to start out with examples, just showing you so you can get an idea of the kinds of things that are possible. All right. And sorry, I'm not monitoring the chat. I should be doing, oh, yay, you did it. Let's see. If I click on that, do I get my,
I hope so.
okay, I'm testing it out.
I'm uploading the other document right now.
Okay, that's the PDF, right? That's for what I just showed you. And then
linking the other one right now.
Fantastic. Okay, great. And I'm going to close it.
There you go. Should be in the chat now for the other document as well.
Okay, the steps for creating survey web. So that's what we're going to do in a few minutes. So go ahead and download that steps to creating a survey web map dashboard thing. And that's what I just showed you a moment ago. Probably looked like this, right? Okay. So you'll have this kind of cheat sheet to walk you through that when we get there next. All right. So what I want to do now is first I want to move this over there. Okay. And sorry if I'm looking this way, but I'm looking at my big screen that's over here. So what do you do here? Well, this takes you to a home page that's just a kind of a picture, and it's got some other stuff down here with some examples, some COVID resources. So this is like the landing page. But from here, for yourself, the first place I always like to go is content. So in all these things up here, content is where your stuff is, anything you have created. Most of you right now, your content should probably be, there should be nothing there, okay? Unless you've created something. Notice that I have like a ton of stuff. I don't know, 17 pages worth. It probably goes on and on. I have a lot of stuff. I also, this is everything, but I also have created some folders. So I have, you know, my LDA folders, etc. So it is good to create folders to organize yourself. I'm pretty bad about it a lot of times. But most recently, I've added a few other things. So in your content listing, you'll see different things. So some examples you see here. Okay, the top one says dashboard. Okay, Karen's map time dashboard. I bet you're going to see that in a minute. So that's something I created for this class. I also created a web map called Karen's favorite colors. And then I unfortunately created a survey that I didn't give a title to, so it's still called Untitled Survey. That was a user mistake on my part. But when I created my Untitled Survey, there was a form, there's a feature layer, etc. So pretty much all these things I created just today to share with you. The other thing to notice, so we'll look into what that means. They do have little indicators to show you what these things are, which is really nice. Now, notice this little person versus a globe versus a building. Okay, so I have little icons in this column, and this indicates who I'm sharing with. So when we're in ArcGIS Online, one of the biggest things to think about is who am I sharing with? And if you just have the little person, you're not sharing with anyone but yourself. You're very selfish. You want this all to yourself. And as you're creating things, that's great. Keep them just for you. That's the default, okay? So the only sharing we have is owner, right? Now, the second one that we have here is public. And that means I'm sharing with the whole world. Notice that's a little globe. And that means anyone in the whole world can look at my web map. Okay, I should be aware of that in case I don't want everyone in the world to look at my web map, but for right now, that's fine. My form, etc. And then there's something down here. I had Karen's California fire perimeter map that I made back in early October, and that's shared with my organization. Any idea who that includes? Who would that include? I'm sharing with my organization. What's this organization? UC Davis, right? So this is going to share with everybody who's in the UC Davis ArcGIS Online, who has an account, who's a member. So that would be thousands and thousands and thousands of people if it's everybody at UC Davis who has a Kerberos account. But you don't become a member until you first log in, okay? So actually, if we look under, this is content, but I'm going to now click on this organization button, and then I can see some additional things. So, or some different things. This has all the newest members are listed here. But if I look at members, that's an overview. But if I click on members over here, there are 5,544 members to the UC Davis organization account. If I share something with my organization, I'm sharing it with all 5,544 people. What does that mean? You know, none of them are probably going to look at it, but it's accessible to them to look at my map or my whatever that I shared. Now, one thing I can do is I can search for members. Okay, let's test out. Is Michelle a member? Oh, look, there's Michelle, Michelle Tobias. Look how many other people spell Michelle with one L. Pretty cool. I can check any of you. I can say, what about Sheila? Sheila a member? Yes, she is. There she is, right? Now, Sheila is also probably a member of the Humphrey online account. So she's going to have two different accounts. And notice that this is her login name. Okay, and this is true of everyone that signs up for the UC Davis account. It's going to be your Kerberos, right? Whatever it is. So your Kerberos, I assume Sheila is snapopo@ucdavis.edu. And it sticks on an underscore UC Davis to that. Okay. And then you pick your password, of course, is your Kerberos password. Okay, that might not always be the case. So that the administrator can kind of choose what your login looks like. If you have any questions, there's a way to email the administrator. I will tell you right now, I am not the administrator of the UC Davis online account. That is now someone else. I used to be, but I'm not anymore. So Carlos Barahona is the administrator. And so there's actually an Esri support at ucdavis.edu that you can send questions to, which is probably from the homepage. It should say from the homepage, if you have questions. Oh, ArcGIS. Okay, for instructions and download, you can go to this file. It should say for help. Nope. Oh, contact Esri, contact us. So the contact us probably goes to, I'm not sure where. It's not really bringing it up. Yeah, Esri support at ucdavis.edu, which is showing in the very corner. So if you need help with this account, you click contact us. Remember, this is on that home page. Okay. So far we've looked at home, we've looked at content, and we've looked at organization. Right. This is the home page with the UC Davis map or satellite image or aerial photo, whatever it may be. Content is your stuff, right? And remember, your stuff will be listed. You can tell what kind of thing it is, which we'll go through in a minute. And then you can always see when it was modified. You can also see who it's shared with. Okay. There's other things you can do, but just as a starter. Okay, everyone with me so far? Yeah, I got thumbs up. Thank you. Yeah, Esri support at ucdavis.edu. Thank you, Michelle, and thank you, Naomi. You shouldn't need help, and also be conscious of the fact that you don't want to just send them a message and say, how do I share this with a new group or something? There's some things that you should be able to figure out on your own. But if things are, if you have a really question that you tried to find out and you really couldn't, then I would do that. The other thing I just wanted to mention is there's something called groups. So if I have a Humphrey Fellows dashboard or something, and I want to share that with a group, I think I had a global affairs group. What you can do then, or here I have shared with a group from my summer GIS class. So you'll notice a lot of these I have shared with various groups. And normally you would share it with just your owner, and then you'd share it with a group. So for example, if everyone on this call wanted to be part of a group, we could create a map time workshop group, right? We add all of ourselves to it, and then we have a group and we can share maps, data, dashboards, web maps with just our group, not with all of UC Davis and not with all of the world. Okay, so one thing to keep in mind is that's another one of these buttons that says groups. Okay, if I click on groups, which you can do as well. Okay, I have a lot of groups. You probably have nothing here, right? I have a lot of different groups. I have a group for COVID. Well, I was automatically put on this COVID-19, but I have my Bhutan GIS 2019 group for my students in that. I have a Davis Community Vision Alliance group. I have various students added me to their final project groups. So there's a lot of stuff here. There's a lot of global affairs kind of groups. I have a Humphrey Fellowship Program group, right? Which I should probably add a couple people on this call to that group. But this is something that allows you to have a separate subgroup. So if I go to Humphrey Fellowship, for example, and I want to see who the members are, okay, this has just 3 people in it. And this is me and the other coordinators of this organization. So the 3 of us, I give the access. If I share something with the group, these 2 people have access to it as well. Okay, so all you have to do, if I come back to groups, so any of you can create a group. You just say create group. You say create group. I'm going to call this test group because I'm going to get rid of it in a minute. My test group, group. I'm going to say UC Davis is my tag. And who can be in the group? My organization members only, any organization. I'll just leave it as somewhat people in UC Davis. Do I do it by invitation? Sure. And who can view this group? Only group members. Okay, who can contribute? Group members. Okay, so you can do a couple different settings here. And then items in this group will be editable membership. So we'll just kind of say yes to that and save. Okay, so I just created a group. It's coming. Great. I can add a thumbnail picture to my group. So I can choose some file. I'm going to just pick a random picture from my pictures. Let's pick, you know, let's pick a UC Davis, somebody's picture there. Okay, there we go. Lovely. Let's zoom in a little on that. Okay, people with bikes, great. So easy to have a little icon for your group. And I can add now members. I can invite users, right? So who do I want to invite? Well, heck, I'm going to invite Sheila because I know her. So I'll add Sheila and say, all right, I'm adding Sheila. Okay. She probably just got an email saying, hey, do you want to be part of Karen's group? And when she does that, you'll see that she has been added. Do I want to add someone else? Okay, anyone raise your hand if you want to be part of my group. Oh, come on, don't be shy. Nobody else wants to be part of my, I'm going to delete it. Okay, Naomi. Okay, Naomi. There she is, Naomi, add. Okay, one more, anyone else want to be part of it? Mason wants to be part of my group. Okay, great. So I'm going to add invite users. I'm going to look for Mason. And I'm going to pick Mason and he's going to be part of my group. Okay, great. So I made a nice little cute group there. Now I'm going to look at my members. And now I have Sheila, Naomi, Mason, and me in my group. Okay, pretty cool. Now, if I create something and I only want these people to see it, I share with that group. And I'll show you in a little bit how you do that. Okay, so let's just keep in mind that I have this test group and we'll use that later too. Okay, everyone with me so far? That's groups. So we've looked at home, we've looked at groups, we've looked at content, and we've looked at organization. Okay. Notebook is a little beyond my skill level now, but you can create notebooks that have a set of instructions, and this is pretty cool stuff. But I would take, if I don't know what I'm doing with notebooks, I would search for a lesson to learn how to use notebooks. Okay. If someone wants to bring that up to me later, we'll look for that. Okay. Let's go to gallery. So gallery is going to bring up all sorts of things that have been created by the organization. So you can start to scroll through here. You can even search. If I want to search for Humphrey and see if anything's been created, nothing. But if I look for COVID and I look for things in that gallery, there's quite a bit that people have created having to do with that. So anyway, this is our specific gallery of maps and such that have been shared for UC Davis. Scene, we're not going to look at, that's kind of what gets into 3D. But the other thing we're going to look at very quickly, thank you, Michelle put in a post on how to get started with notebooks. All right, particularly if you're a little more advanced, I would definitely do that. Okay, so now again, what did I do? How did I get here? I missed it. Okay, well, if I missed it, I can always see this little home button here. I can always go back home and notice these are the things that a minute ago were along this top ledge, those tabs, right? So I always like to share with people, oh my gosh, I'm lost. How did I get here? Okay, so always look for this home little drop down and I can go home. Oh, I feel much better. I'm going home. I can go home and now once again, I see that lovely, farmlands. I see my gallery map scene all up at the top. I feel good. All right, great. But let's see what I had done is I clicked this button that says map. So this is where you create maps. Okay. So I can just come here and this is number one confusing thing. There are two different ways to create maps. There's two map viewers. This is the classic map viewer, the old one. And if I click open in new map viewer, it brings up the new one. I recommend using the new one. They do the same thing, but the new one is kind of where everything is going. So this is where you add layers, you create different things in your map. And we're going to come back to map in a minute because you can create a map and save a map, and then you can use it for other things. Okay, I'm not going to do that right now though. I'm lost again now. How do I get out of this? Well, I don't see my home button, but I do see these three lines right here. These three lines right here give me, again, those options, right? So again, just to be safe, I'm going to go home again. Okay, all else fails, go home. I'm familiar again. So the next thing we're going to do is this is your other favorite button, these 9 dots, I like to call them. I'm sure there's a better word for them, but I call them the 9 dots. When you click on the 9 dots, it brings up apps, applications, web mapping applications or web map applications. Okay. The ones, there's a lot of them here. The ones that we're going to look at today are Survey 123 and dashboards. And this is the easiest way to get to them. There's other ways to get to them, but this is the easiest way. Okay, another thing to be aware of is Living Atlas. This is what I mentioned a little bit earlier about a great resource for data. Okay, huge amounts of data that you can find. Then let's see, the field maps is what we're going to look at on next week. So please come back next Tuesday and we'll be focusing on field maps. So today is really to get you to the point where when they start teaching you about field maps, you'll have that background. Okay. Notice that there's Map Viewer and Map Viewer Classic. That's what we just did by clicking on Maps. Same thing. Okay, Map Viewer and Map Viewer Classic. And I recommend you use Map Viewer. Okay. So that's what you now have access to, and we're going to come back to that shortly. But what I want to do first is I want to start sharing some applications. But I will pause. Are there any questions people have before we kind of go into the demonstration side of things? Thank you, Naomi, and I know Naomi and Michelle have been helping out in the chat. All right, ready to see some examples? Waiting for the thumbs up. All right. Woohoo. Okay. We got some active thumbs uppers here. So even though there's no video, that's okay. All right. So I am going to start. I have several things that are lined up here. So let's just start here. No, let's not start there. Okay, I will start here. One of the things that I mentioned that's my favorite is story maps. And this is just one of those many apps. And what I encourage you to do with story maps, and we, I can, maybe these can get put in the chat as we talk. Everyone, I'll do it myself, paste. Okay, so this is just a way to start exploring stories that people have written. And one of them that I think there's a lot here, and then you can actually search by topic. There's tips for telling a good story. We just last week had a 2-hour workshop on how to create a story map that was given by the creator of story maps, Alan Carroll from Esri. So that was very exciting. And he's written several of these kinds of things that help you learn how to create story maps. These are just, they're all different. They're very customizable, but these are ways to share a bunch of information. So I like this one, 30 by 30. So who has heard of 30 by 30? No one's heard. No one knows what 30 by 30 is. Okay, that's great. It's a movement to protect 1/3 of our planet by 2030. What is that about? Well, let's explore this story. Okay, so interesting, we depend on nature. So 30 by 30, the goal is to at least 30% of the Earth's land and waters by 2030, and that is 30 by 30. All right, this is an ArcGIS story map. Have we seen a map yet? No. So story maps are not at all about maps. They're about a lot of things. They're about communication of information. So this, and you can, the cool thing is these also have some navigation tools up here, but you can either scroll through the story bit by bit, or you can navigate by clicking on these different kind of bookmarks. So this talks about, the ecosystem has pressure, more than 1 million species are at risk, 100, or what was it, 1 million, I'm going back, more than 1 million species are currently at risk of extinction. Conserving 1/3 of our planet will do this and that. So again, just kind of walking through this. Where do we stand? The ocean covers 71%, 29% is land. Of that, 17% of the Earth's surface and 8% of the oceans. As of 2020, right now, only 17% of the land and 8% of the waters are protected or conserved. So what is this story map trying to do? Do we know that yet? I think it's trying to convince us that this 30 by 30 thing it's trying to educate us. It's trying to give us data and information about the status of how much of the world is protected. And I bet at the end, it's going to have a call to action. So we go through looking at current patterns of protection, protected areas in the ocean and on land. To reach this, we have to add 13% of the land surface and 22% of the oceans need to be protected. Who has signed on to this? There's a map of who has signed on to it. Let me click on some of these. Okay, I can start as I hover. I see the countries that have signed on to this. Guess what's missing? United States. We did not sign on to it, but all these other countries have signed on to it. Okay. Pakistan, India, I hope Bhutan. No, yes, Kingdom of Bhutan. Whew, yeah, my favorite. One of my favorites. Okay, what about Kenya, my other place I've lived? Kenya. Okay, so again, this map lets you see just by hovering talks about the initiative, Campaign for Nature, Road to 3030, all these different things. What can you do? You can sign a petition, you can campaign for nature, you can join this, and then there's even more stories about 30 by 30, okay? And then I can come back, just click here and come back to the top. Very quick introduction to story maps. That's one story map. And you can see that it wasn't about maps per se. There was one map that was really nice. It's about communicating a message. Okay. I will now share my probably the most powerful story map that I've ever seen. This was actually created in the old version of story maps. So it used to be called Esri story maps. So notice it says storymaps.esri.com. The 3031 said storymaps.arcgis.com. So the ArcGIS one is the newer version. Back about 3 or 4 years ago, it was the older Esri version. But this is a very powerful example. And again, I can share this in the chat too. Okay. So you can look at this at your own whenever you have a moment. But this shares a lot of pictures about the Syrian refugees and how they were displaced and have been displaced. And then we look at displaced people worldwide. So again, this is looking kind of at, you know, justice. And I mean, you can look, there are things that talk about, this is about refugees. You can see story maps about environmental justice and so on. So this is looking at people displaced internally and externally. There's a map. How many, this is showing Afghanistan is the second most, Syria is the highest with sort of circle. That's kind of a static map. Again, we can look at sort of the top 3 refugee sources for countries in 2014. So this is a lot of information, that disintegration of Syria, images of war, looking where camps are, and then we zoom in and we actually, in a moment, we look at what does it look like? What does a refugee camp look like? This is super powerful. I mean, until I saw this story map, I didn't have a sense of what a refugee camp might look like. Who are the people that are in these places? Then we get into, we do have a map. It gets mapped out, the different sections. Where are the shelters? Where are things? So anyway, there's a lot of mapped information in here, and so on. And this goes on and has a lot of, again, very powerful imagery. You can also there's actually a 3D one here, right? Let me just go back back to the top. Okay. I hope my internet isn't freezing. Michelle, am I still okay?
Yeah, it looks fine now. It froze for just a second, but I think we're good.
It froze for a sec. Okay. So those are just, again, 2 examples. You can, oops, okay. So you can look at story maps and find all sorts of things. The next thing I want to share is a survey that is connected to a dashboard. Again, I'm going to show you a few more things. I think we might just take a short break, although you guys can take a break kind of whenever you want, but we might take a short break. But one thing I want to show you is, again, and I'm going to actually give you this URL in a moment, and we're all going to add to it. But what I want to show you is a dashboard. And this was just something I did with the Humphrey Fellows. So those of you that are on here, you've already added to it. It's all just sort of whatever comes to mind. It's nothing. The privacy is basically your name, and you can put it in any name you want. And yes, have an ArcGIS online account to use story maps because it's a web mapping application. You all have access to it. And as we said earlier, even if you don't have an organizational account, you can get a personal ArcGIS Online account and you can create stories. Okay, so we have the Sustainable Development Goals. I think many of you have heard of those. We have a little survey that has the Sustainable Development Goals, no poverty, zero hunger, etc. These are really big at UC Davis right now. We just did a voluntary University Review that's been well publicized about sort of what people at UC Davis are doing. But what I want you to notice is in a minute, I'm going to have, even though you're not a Humphrey Fellow, some of you are, it doesn't matter. We're just going to use this as an for adding data into a survey and having it show up in a dashboard. Okay, so the dashboard looks like this. And if we click on a particular point, we can see this was Karen 2, probably me, and I put my favorite SDG as SDG 10. One mistake here is I should say what SDG 10 is, and I could do that with some arcade code. But in any case, this shows a pie chart of the responses. Notice right now 18 people have responded. Okay. If I click in one place and there's more than one response, I notice I clicked in Davis. There's 3 responses. So Nikki said SDG 2. Okay, so you can click on the dot and see the response. Now this is the part, what shows up when you click on it is so you can configure what this looks like. It's customizable. All right, so here's the dashboard. It is connected to this survey. So what I'd like you to do, and if you have any problem, it means that I don't have the permissions correct, but let's give this a try. I'm going to paste this into the chat. I want you to click on this and fill out the survey. And at the bottom, you're also going to put your favorite place. So I'm going to do it while you are. So I'm going to say, my name is Karen number 999. I have so many Karens that I'm just putting numbers, but you can put whatever you want. You can call yourself Mickey Mouse if you want to, that's fine. And I'm going to pick 0 hunger because I haven't had breakfast. And I'm going to go down and then I'm going to pick where do I want to focus on 0 hunger? And I'm just going to pick, I'm going to pick someplace random. Let's say, I was just thinking about it yesterday, Colombia. Okay, Colombia, the country. It's going to take me to Colombia. Now, one thing I can do in the map is I can click this expand button and it's now taken me like out much farther. And now I can kind of see, where am I in Colombia? Oh, I'm not in Colombia. Look at that. It put me, because I put Colombia. So I said, oh, I was in the wrong place. So now actually I want to go to Colombia. Now I'm in Colombia, but maybe I want to go to Medellin. Okay, so I can actually then click on Medellin. My dot's now there and I can say, all right, I'm done. So I click this little go back button and it's right where I want it and I'm set. I could also just click in an address. I could say UC Davis. Okay, that'll take me to Davis, and then I could say, well, I actually work over here, so I want to put that right there. Okay, so this map is pretty easy to use. I'm going to go back to Medellin. I don't know how to spell it. Medellin, Colombia. Okay, I've actually been there, so it's one place I want to pick. Okay, so I've picked Medellin, Colombia as my interest. So I picked my, now notice it says just choose one. This has been created such that if you try to choose more than one, it's going to give you an error message. Okay. All right, so this quick survey, I just say submit. Failed to submit. Why did it fail to submit? Were any of you able to submit it? Okay, that makes me say, I wonder what's going on here. So I'm going to come to my surveys. Okay, and well, it looks like all of you could submit, right? There's 26 of them now. All right, so let's look, and I'm going to refresh this. Okay, remember before it said 18? Now it says 26 because all of you have been entering things, right? I don't know why. See, it wouldn't work for me. It worked for all of you. Okay, so maybe somebody wrote here. Okay, Naomi likes SDG 6, somewhere up in, I don't know where that is, Michigan, Detroit. See? And this pie chart is going to adjust. We come here to who's in Alabama. Let's take a look. Okay, Lacey, and you like SDG 5. Great. What was SDG 5? You know, we'd have to come back and look. So you like gender equity, right? So this is adjusting as people are entering information. Okay. Another thing, so you can also connect these so that as I zoom in, the pie chart will adjust to just my current extent, and the number of responses will also adjust to my current extent. So these can be customized a lot. This is just a very simple example. Okay. I can also go back into my, I can change the background. I can change the symbol of the dot. I can change what it looks like when I click on the dot. Okay. I can add other charts. I can add another map. I can add a lot of information if I choose to. Okay. Everybody with me? Come on. I need to make sure everyone's there. There's no videos. I could be talking to myself. All right, there they come. Okay, thank you. Yeah, good. All right, perfect. Thank you. All right, we got a check mark too. Great. All right, what else? Another thing I wanted to show the way. So these are my dashboards. So when I click on back to this home page, if I click on this little 9 dots and I pick dashboards, it's going to show me all the dashboards that I have created. It'll also show me all the dashboards other people have shared with me. Pretty cool. All right. So let me share. That was the favorite SDGs. I want to show you another example. This is a dashboard that I pulled data from for California Fire and Forestry and Fire Protection. They were started. I was looking at causes, power lines. We were actually looking at power lines and how often do power lines cause fires. So I put some static charts that have shown sort of the fires caused by power lines from 2010 to 2020. I've also showed the sort of the trend in the number of fires. Those are different. I'm not sure what, oh, acres, sorry, that was acres burned versus number of fires. So the number of fires have definitely been going up. The acres burned was the most in 2018, et cetera. So this is all data that I pulled from one data layer that I found online. I created a chart, and then I can click on the years. So if I just want to look at 2020, if I click on 2020, 2019, there we go, 2020. Notice that these numbers cannot access data. Okay, it's giving me a nasty little sign that I can't access. You know what? It's because I'm not signed in. That's why. Okay. I signed myself out and now it thinks I'm not signed in. So I'm going to come back here. All right, I'm going to show you just a different one. Let's forget. Sorry, I'm trying to find the one that I want to. Okay. 5. Okay, so this is a map that this is a dashboard that I created for my Humphrey Fellow program, and I'm going to share that with you in the chat. What this has a lot of kind of other stuff in it, and this is just again to show you a little bit more sophisticated what you can do. So these are professional affiliations and local partnership organizations, and different coordinators from different campuses entered information about who they've partnered with. Now, one thing you'll notice, I'm going to zoom in on UC Davis because of course we're the best, but notice as I zoom into UC Davis, these numbers are changing and this chart is changing again, because they're all connected. So if I want to now click on one of these, let's just click up here and see what this one is. So I can click on a dot and this says, oh, this was a local partnership with the YOLO Food Bank. Okay, fellows volunteer time there, 11 to 50 fellows, 2 to 5 years of engagement, and this is likely to continue. Let me click on another one. There's actually one down here in Southern California. That was a professional affiliation with ESRI, Society for Conservation GIS. And there's a link to more information that takes me to their website. And there's also a picture. So you can even add a photo, has a bunch of people at ESRI, and so on. So, you know, this pop-up I have configured. So I've taken a lot of data and I've configured that to just show certain things. It also shows different things depending on what type of partner it is. If it's a professional affiliation, it shows different things than if it's a local partnership. Okay, so again, you know, and also I used kind of a really cartoony background map, which I found online. I can say I just want to see all the ones that are for Arizona State. These numbers all adjust, and then I can zoom in to see what those things were. These were just for Arizona State. Maybe I just want professional affiliations, etc. And then I can always go back to select all. Oh, this isn't letting me select all. Yeah, that as I zoom out, I can go home and it selects all of them again. Okay, that gives you a little bit of idea. Where did this come from? Well, this came from a survey. So that map I just showed you, this was a more sophisticated survey, lets you open different pieces of it, different sections. Depending on what you pick in one section, it will have different information. This is just to show you there's a lot more to a survey than the very simple ones that we'll be looking at in a moment, okay? I will add that it's always important to have a permission to share unless it's something simple like what's your favorite SDG. And you should always, you know, have people just be able to say yes. So just one trick that I use, permission to share. By clicking yes, you're letting us share it with so-and-so. Yes, if you don't submit it if you don't want it to be shared. Privacy and sharing is very important these days. So be careful not to just collect a bunch of data and then put it up there for the whole world to see, because you might be violating some privacy laws and regulations, okay? So you can use, like I said, a fairly simple statement can be there that has people opt in, okay? All right, and it needs to be an opt-in. It's not supposed to be an opt-out. So it can't be just like, if you don't want your information shared, you have to send me an email. Or if you don't want your information shared, you have to click no. It has to be by clicking yes, you're opting in, okay? All right, so that's the survey that was used to create that last map that I showed you. Is there a way to filter data that, yes, has permission to be shared versus that does not? Yeah, you can actually have this question be yes or no. And then when you go to your dashboard, you can filter out all the no's. So that's a really good question, Adriana. You can do that. You still then have to worry about the fact that you're having the data stored. So you still need to make it clear to the person that their data is being stored in a cloud by Esri. And so really the sharing part of it is just whether it gets shared out to the public. Okay. Yeah, so that was a really good question. All right, a couple more examples. I think I'm going to plow through. I'm going to need a drink of water, but I don't think I need a break. Because I want us to be able to get some hands-on. It should take 20 minutes or so for you guys to do your own. So I just wanted to share just a couple of examples of having analysis shared in a story map. So my students in Bhutan, we created a story map. Again, just we talked about the country, what is gross national happiness. This is our study abroad class from 2019, all dressed in traditional Bhutanese clothing. Anyone knows Bob Brewer? He is he comes along as he is a very important role as the on-site coordinator who helps me with everything, and he's lying down in the middle there. I don't know how he's the photographer if he's there, but in any case, Then it talks about the student final projects, what they did, and for each of the student groups, they put together a story map to share their analysis. And I will mention that these students knew nothing about GIS 4 weeks before they completed this. So they did all this in 4 weeks from start to finish, using ArcGIS Pro mostly, and then being able to use ArcGIS Online. So threat of glacial melt, the most suitable habitat areas for tigers, landslides in Bhutan, the highs and lows relating happiness to tourism, potential land for development in Bhutan, kingdom of happiness, discovering how Bhutan retains joy and happiness in times of rapid development, etc. Okay, urbanization and transportation. So you could look at any one of these. You know, tigers are pretty cool. So click on the red button. A couple of students put this together. Come on. Okay. So you can have quotes, you can have pictures. You always have to reference your pictures, obviously. Basic information. Where can tigers still be found? This is an interactive map that's been put into the story. So again, if you click on this, it expands it. You can click on China and you can find out how many tigers China has. It has 50 tigers. So that kind of thing, you can pop back out. It went through what is the analysis, what qualities are good for tiger habitats. It took roads and rivers and buffered them. It looked at elevation. It looked at slope. They looked at protected areas and corridors, and they looked at intact forest cover, and they kind of put all that, and land use, they put that all together and found suitable, high to low suitable habitat for tigers. Okay, very cool. There's their picture. Here's all their sources. That's what students can do in a project using this technology. And again, this is a very pretty basic one, but it's telling a story of an analysis, right, in a student project. Just a couple more that so I can put these links in the chat if you'd like. So let me come back to the main one. Again, just for your, I'll copy and paste each of these. And again, I'm just showing you these to show you what you can do with these kinds of accounts and technology. So in 2020, the class did 21 different projects and story maps. The first one is actually, I put it first because it's really the best one. But I look at any of these, they're all quite interesting. So let's put that link here. And then finally, I'll also share the one from last summer. We had fewer people, because we had more groups, but we had 10 projects and they were looking at SDGs. So you can take your story maps, in this case projects, and put them into a collection and share all of that. So anyway, those are there to look at when you'd like. So are there any questions at the moment? And if there aren't, I want to jump in and let's start and let's create a survey, let's create a web map, and let's create a dashboard. Okay. You guys ready to do that? Yes, please, let's go. Okay. We don't have all of you on the call anymore, but those that are here, let's get started. So I want to bring up that PDF. Okay. So what are we doing? I hope you all got that PDF from the chat. We already are signed in to our account. Remember that we want to start with those 9 dots at the top, and we want to pick survey 1, 2, 3. So we're going to start by creating a survey. Okay, it's going to be a really simple survey. For me, I just said, what's your favorite color? One question. And then where's your favorite travel destination? And that's a map. Okay, very basic. You can do something a little different if you want. But what you're going to do is, again, you're going to click on those 3 dots, and you're going to make sure that you're signed in. So I put, this is always, I'm signed in. I can tell by my picture and my login. And then from those little dots, it's going to drop down and we're going to pick survey 1, 2, 3. So what does that look like? I'm going to, come to here. I'm going to go to those 9 little dots and I'm going to pick survey 1, 2, 3. Okay. It's going to come up to my surveys. You probably have nothing there yet. That's fine. We're going to do new survey. And if you're following those directions, it's going to tell you when it comes up. You're going to create our survey and we're going to share. All right. So we're going to go through this whole step together. But there's two different ways to create a survey. So when you're good at this and you want to make really sophisticated surveys, you're going to use Survey 123 Connect. We're not going to do that now. That actually is an app, and it creates, you're creating the survey in a Excel spreadsheet. So it's much more powerful, but it's not what you see is what you get. So I always like to start with the new blank survey that you just designed from scratch. There's also some templates, so I welcome you to look at those if you really want to do some of these. There's some nice templates that you can start with, and then you can edit that match what you want to do. But let's just, for now, we're going to just start with a blank one. Okay. I hope you guys are able to do this. All right. There's my blank survey. Now notice it calls it untitled survey. That's what I didn't do last time. So I'm going to call this Karen favorite place, color, and place survey. Okay, Karen's. I can do Karen's. Okay, so you can call it whatever you want, but you can give it a name up here. Okay. Now, survey title is not set either. Okay, I just gave it a name. There's survey title. Favorite color and place. Okay, so that's the title. A description, we can, whatever we want this to say. Share your favorite color and place with Karen. Okay, again, you can be making this whatever you want. Okay, save. Great. You can save anytime along the way. Don't publish yet. There's nothing here. So far we have nothing. We have a title, we have a little description, and so on. So everyone with me so far? I don't care what you name it. Last time I left it untitled, but okay, we're good. Okay, so now we want to click on add. And this is where we have all the options for the kinds of questions we want to add. Okay, so maybe the first thing is, what's your name? It's nice to have a name, right? So that would be single line text, right? If it were something long, we wanted someone to write a paragraph, we'd do multi-line text, but let's just do single line text. So I click on single line text, I drag it and I drop it. That's it. Click on single line text under add, click it, drag it, drop it. And then it just says untitled question 1 and gives you a blank. So I'm going to click on this. So click on it. It says, I'm going to call it name. And then under the hint, what is your first name, or whatever name you want to give. Okay. Because I really don't care who you are. I'm just making a question. Okay, great. Now there's a default value. Probably shouldn't put that for name. I would say this is a required, right? So you can decide whether a question is required or it's optional. After that, I would just leave sort of the rest and I would do save. Great. Okay, so now my survey has one question. One thing that just happened is the preview and the publish button just became active. Before I had a question up here, it wasn't active. So let's preview it. Let's see what that means. Okay, so I have one question. I'm going to click on preview. So this is what it looks like on a computer, but I can also say, oh, what if someone's looking at it on a phone? What's that survey going to look like? And what if they're looking at it on a tablet, right? So I can kind of preview what that'll look like, and then I can close it. Great. All right, so my next question, so I'm going to click on add again. And now I'm going to have a, so a single choice and a multiple choice are, so single choice means you can have many choices to pick from, but you can only pick one of them. Multiple choice means you have lots of choices and you can pick more than one. I like to stick with single choice because mapping multiple choice gets a little bit tricky, but you can do that and play with that. But for simplicity, I'm going to pick single choice. I'm going to bring it over here. And notice now I have question 2. And what am I going to call that? I'm going to say favorite color. And I'm going to say, what is your favorite color out of those listed? Okay, so I'm going to choose orange. I'm going to choose burgundy. I'm going to choose lavender. Lavender. I don't know if that's right. And I say, wait, I want to add some more. So I can click the plus button. And let's also pick, oh, I can never spell turquoise. Let's not do that. Let's do sky blue. Okay. I can, and maybe one other, magenta. I already picked burgundy, but let's try magenta. Okay, great. Some kind of you can do red, green, purple, orange, whatever you want. And you can do something other than color. All right, great. Now notice that they're all sort of in a long line, but maybe I want to save some space. I can click horizontal, or I can click horizontal compact. Okay. And I can play around a little bit with how those look. I kind of like horizontal. Let's do that. Okay. So now they can only pick one. And I'll make this a required question, and I'll save. Okay. Everybody with me so far? Okay, where the thumbs up? Where the thumbs up? Okay. All right, cool. Last question. Last question is going to be your favorite place, right? So I'm going to now come back to add, and I'm going to add, notice all the different things you can add. You can have ranking, date, image, address, email, all these kinds of things. But I'm going to add the very cool thing, of course, which is a map. So I'm going to pull the map over and I'm going to drop it. Okay. So this is my map question. This is why you'd want to use the Survey123 instead of using something like Qualtrics or SurveyMonkey. Okay. What is my question number 3? My question number 3 is where, I'm going to call it favorite place. If you could go anywhere besides Davis right now, where would it be? Okay. Now, cool thing is you can make a point. That's what most people do, but you could also have a line either done click by straight lines, or you can make a squiggly line. These are pretty cool. Or you can create an area. I'm not going to do those now. They're a little more complex, but play around with this. Or if you want to do one now, do one now. But I'm just going to stick with point for now. And I could right here change my base map. So maybe I'm interested in, let's just, I want to do National Geographic. Where's National Geographic? National Geographic style map. Okay. That just changes the background a little bit. I like that one. You can kind of set where you want people to start. Maybe I want to put them in the heart of Africa as a starting point. It just shows, so where you zoom in is where it's going to show as the default. Okay. I could also sort of zoom out, and then they've got most of the world. That's probably a little better. You can have them ask the device location. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make it required. I'm going to leave all that West blank, and I'm going to say save. Okay. So I'm done, right? I would normally put in, permission. Do you have use to, can I use this data, blah, 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 but this is all fake data, it doesn't matter. All right, name, favorite color, favorite place. Cool, everyone got it? Something like it? Ready to go? Okay, now we're going to submit it. No, we're not going to submit it. We're going to actually preview it. So we've saved it. Make sure you save. I'm going to preview. What is this? Again, we looked at it. What does this look like? Is everything good? Call this up. We have our desktop. We have what it looks like on a phone. Yeah, that's pretty good. Even my map comes up, or a tablet. Okay, I like that. Great. Okay, no more preview. So now what? Now we want to publish it. Okay, publish. Right now, it's not there for anyone to use, not even yourself. But if I click publish, it comes up and it shows me, first of all, the mapping. So for each of my favorite colors, it has taken the name and it's made it into a value that it will store. Notice for sky blue, it put an underscore because you can't have in the name, you can't have a space. Okay, I can change these, right? I can go in and say, I want to modify the schema. I want to modify the schema. And I want, instead of favorite color like that, I want it to just be favorite color without an underscore. Okay. And so I modified that. Whoops, come back. Now it's favorite color. So just letting you know there's that option to change what it's called. Okay. And I'll also call it favorite place. And I'll call it my name. Okay. Just because, show you can edit it. Okay, when I'm done, I'm going to click publish. Again, you didn't have to do any of that I just did. I just wanted to show you that you could do it. So I'm publishing my map, my survey. La-di-da-di-da. Everybody publishing? Yeah. All right. Wonder if everyone's as slow as mine is. Success. Survey's been published. Great. Let's see. Survey has been published. Now you can access the survey link here and distribute it. Okay. Don't show this message again. Okay. So now what? Well, one thing we want to think about is collaborate. So that was under design. So first of all, this is cool. Here's my link to my survey, right? It's a nice short one. I can copy that URL. I can also get a QR code, right? So I can stick this little QR code on a flyer and let people scan it with their phones and go straight to my survey. Cool. I can just open it in a new tab, ready to go. Except I'm really not ready to go because what's missing? Who can submit to this survey? Nobody, right? If I just say, yeah, let's go, I haven't shared it with anyone. I haven't let anyone have access to it. So let's just be bold and say, I'm going to share this with the whole world, right? Notice it automatically also connects us to members. Now, notice I could say, wait a minute, I don't want to do that. I only want to share with that wonderful little test group I had earlier today. Where's my test group? Not showing up. What did I call us? Anyway, the point is that you could just share with your group. I don't know why our group isn't showing up. That bothers me. Anyway, but we're going to go back and share with everybody. But I just want to let you know, this is the point at which you could share it with a small group, maybe your lab mates. Maybe you're going out and doing a survey and you only want the people in your lab to have access to that survey. You can do that. Okay, what can submitters do? There's all sorts of things here. We're just going to stick with all of the basics and we're just going to say, because you can also open it a certain date and close it a certain date and so on. But I'm just going to save. Great. Now, what has that done? Okay, so again, you can always come back to this little link button and you can find that link. Okay, so I can copy that link. I can open it. I can copy and paste it, or I can go directly to it. And there's my survey. Okay, and I can enter it. My name is Okay, and do this yourself, right? Go to your map and enter some data. My name is, come on, Joe. My favorite color is orange. And I like Peru. Great. Submit. And then I can run it again. I can just press enter. It'll come up again. My name is Frank. And I like lavender. And I like turkey. Okay. Submit. Okay. So just do a few of these. Just everyone with me? You're doing this for your own survey. You grabbed your link. 5 groups, including. Okay, yeah, Naomi, I think it is does have to do with permissions with the group. So, all right. First name, Mary, and I like sky blue, and I like, oh, I have to say Bhutan, my favorite place in the world. Okay. But I don't want to be in the middle of Bhutan. I'm going to actually say I want to go to, come on. Oh, I'm just going to click on Thimphu, the capital. Okay. And now I'm going to go back out and I'm going to say submit. All right. I just added. So I'm going to let you all add about, 2 or 3 entries, at least 2 or 3 entries. Okay. If you're done adding 2 or 3 entries, give me a thumbs up. Okay, I'll wait another couple minutes. Several thumbs up. Okay. So remember, you're just adding to your own survey. And if you're like, okay, where's my survey? You can come back to, you should have that survey one still there. If you can't find it and you're totally lost, go back to your home, right? Go back to ArcGIS Online and your home. Okay. And then you can always go to your 9 dots and you can pick survey 1, 2, 3. And you should be able to open your survey by clicking on it. Okay. Home, 3 dots, your survey. Okay. I have 3 records. On my overview of my survey, it tells me I have 3 records, 1 participant, which was me, the date, last submitted, and the first submitted, last submitted. I come back on design and I can see my original design, right? Just one thing to note with design, I could also go to appearance and I can pick some kind of cool background like that. You can even edit, like I showed, the ones I showed you earlier, you can edit your own, you can have your own background and so on. Okay. So I actually kind of like this looking thing. So I'm going to just slightly change the design and I'm going to save. Okay. I changed the background. So again, I went to appearance. I'm in design and I clicked appearance and I picked this beautiful, kind of background. And then when I saved it, the little red dot came on for publish. So that's telling me, okay, you know what, you made a change. You're going to have to publish it again. So I click publish. And I don't want to modify my schema. I don't want to do any of that. So I just click publish again. So it has to republish it if you make a change. And again, mine was just a visual change. It doesn't change the data, but I just made it look different. Okay. So again, this is where you can customize. You saw the ones that I showed you earlier. I had specific colors. You can set up a template that you want to use for all your surveys or so on. So there's a lot of customization that can happen. Okay. And remember then I had my my map, my link to my survey. That's where I was to actually take the survey. Okay. Okay, but now what? I have that data. I want to show that I can also click on data here and I can see my dots. Okay, here's the Peru and Turkey and Bhutan that I clicked, right? And I see the names Mary, Frank, and Joe, the favorite color, and I guess the place is just a place. So that's my data. Great, I can see that here in survey and I can also click on analyze. So analyzing a survey is going to show me, you know, a word cloud. There's only, you need 20 for a word cloud. It shows how many people have picked what, et cetera. So again, I have some information here under and data, and then also under data, you can always export the results into a file. Okay, so whatever data you have at that moment, you can export it. A lot of times people say, I want that data from your survey, and you just want to give them an Excel spreadsheet, okay? Or a shapefile. You can export it as a shapefile and then use it in ArcGIS Pro or something, okay? Just so you know, there's a lot you can do here. But the thing is, we want to make a dashboard, and we're not going to get very far on the dashboard, but I want to get you started. But before you create a dashboard, you have to create a web map, okay? So how do I create a web map? I have this data. Now it's going to keep, you know, someone could go in and add 20 more records. It's going to keep adding to this using this survey. How do I get that into a map and then into a survey? Well, first of all, if you when all else fails and you don't know where to go, you go back to your home. Okay? Always go back home. You're lost, go back home. Okay? It took me a long time to learn that. If you're lost, go back home. Here I am back home. How would I start making a map? Any ideas? How about map? Okay, sounds good to me. Map. Okay, this is called the map viewer. And before I make a dashboard, I need to make a map. Okay, so I want to take a map and I want to map the map that's being created from my survey. Where is that? I don't really know. So before I make the map, I'm going to say, well, wait a minute. I'm going to go back to my content. I'm going to come back to the map in a minute. So I'm going to go to that content tab. And notice that I have Karen's favorite place survey. Look, it created a feature layer and field workers, stakeholder, and just feature layer hosted. So I am going to create a map and I'm going to create it with one of these. I'm actually going to recommend we use the stakeholder one. So if I come back to map, just wanted to make sure Karen's favorite color, I also am going to recommend that you go to the new map viewer just to get used to using it. It's a very similar process in both of them, but just here we are. I have an untitled map and I want to add a layer because my survey is creating those layers. Okay. Add a layer. And I'm going to use the one that has stakeholder in it. Don't ask me why I tried using this one and it failed. So I'm just going to use the one that says Karen's favorite color and place survey stakeholder, and I'm going to click add. Okay. I'm going to go back and hopefully okay, I'm starting to see my dots, right? Okay, so I just added that layer. That's all I did. There's all sorts of things you can do. Configure pop-ups. There's, 25 more lessons I could give on all of that. But let's just say here we are. We have a map. We have my 3 points. If I click on the point, it's favorite color, name is Frank, color is lavender, right? That comes from those 3 that I did. All right, so I have now a web map, very simple web map. I need to save it. It's untitled, so I'm going to put save. And it's going to ask me some information. So I'm going to say Karen's favorite color and place map. Okay. Tags, UC Davis, summary, Karen's color, can't even type, and place map. Okay. And I'm just going to keep it in my default folder and I'm going to save map. So again, I clicked on save. It came up with all this. I have to enter a title. I have to enter tags. I have to enter a summary and so on. And I'm going to save my map. So now I've created and saved this map. And that's the thing that I bring into my dashboard. Okay, so the trick that sometimes people forget, you create a survey, which creates that layer that has the dots on it, right? The red dots that are here. And that'll keep adding, right? As I add the survey, the map will get those dots added. And I have to save that map. The other thing I need to do is share that map. Okay, so notice there's a share map here. Because of course, by default, it's just shared with me. If I want to make a dashboard and I want to make this available, I have to share with someone. Again, I'll just do everyone. I could share with a group, right? Create a group, share with a group. Okay, and I'm going to save. So I'm going to share. Now, interesting enough, it says you have another layer, right? The dots that don't have the same sharing capability. Right now, my data is only, that feature layer is only shared by me. So it's prompting me to say, if you want to share this map, you also have to share the data. I don't have to, but if I want it to show up for everyone, I have to. So I'm going to click, if this message comes up, normally you want to say update. So what the update did is it not only is the map being shared with everyone, but the data underneath it is also being shared with everyone. Okay, is everyone with me? Or most of you with me? One last thing. We have 6 minutes. One last thing. Okay. Last thing I want to do. We're going to start making a dashboard. Okay. There are like all sorts of training that you can learn for making dashboards, but this is a start. So if I come now, where do I go? I don't know what to do next. So I'm going to come back to my home, right? Always go home. Don't know where to go, go home. All right, I'm home in Davis. Now I'm going to click my 9 dots and I'm going to pick dashboards. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do, last thing I want to do is create a dashboard with that data from that web map I just created. See, I made one earlier today, but I'm going to create a new dashboard. So I have all these dashboards, but I'm going to create a dashboard. I'm going to give it a name, Karen's favorite color and place dashboard. Tags, I'll just still do UC Davis just because. And then, oops, it didn't take it. UC Davis, return. Okay, this is Karen's dashboard. I'm not going to get specific. And I'm going to save it in that same folder. And then I'm going to click create dashboard. Okay, title. That's really all you need is a title. You don't even need tags. They're not mandatory. Create dashboard. Oh, I'm so excited. Look at my dashboard. Uh-oh, there's nothing there. Okay, so this is how you start a dashboard. Okay, nothing there. Now what I want to do is I want to start adding things. The very first thing I like to add is my map. Okay, so first thing to add in my dashboard is my map. Which map? I'm going to pick Karen's favorite color and place map. It has all sorts of options. I actually like to pick all of them, but it doesn't. It's just various aspects of the mapping capabilities. And voila, I have a map. Okay, that's not very exciting. What else can I add? Well, let's add also something called an indicator. And the indicator, I have to tell it which map. So I want it from that same map. Notice the indicator comes up with a 3. That's because I have 3 entries into that map, right? So that's great. I'm just gonna, I can, on that indicator, I can say number of entries, 3. And I can say on Karen's survey, 3. Okay, that's pretty dumb, but Okay, now it makes it really huge and it sticks it over here, and that's kind of weird. So you can kind of move things around. Okay. Let's say one other thing. Let's say I want to make a chart or a graph of the favorite colors and how many there are of each. So I can also add a serial chart. Also Karen's favorite colors. And I have to tell it that I want to pick from the category of favorite color. And there it just creates lavender, orange, sky blue. This is very basic. I'm not going to do anything else with I'm going to say done. I should actually, I'm going to make one small edit. So I'm going to click up here and configure. And I'm going to say it can only have integers. Okay, because otherwise it gets really annoying. Okay, save. Now, this looks really lame. So I kind of want to drag this on top of that. And now I'm going to pull this over and it's starting to look a little bit better. Okay. That's the start. As more entries are made, so if I come back to Karen's survey, where's my survey? Favorites. Yeah, I have so many things. Oh, that was the other one. Okay. Let's just do this again. Okay, notice that change. I made it into that different look and feel is there. And now I'm going to say Julia, and my favorite color is also sky blue. And I like Morocco, Marrakesh. Sure. Okay, submit. Now I come back to that dashboard that I was creating. And I press F5, reload. And I made the biggest mistake. Okay, everybody, don't do that. Because what I did is I didn't save it before I reloaded. So I lost everything, trying to show you that now I had 4. But that's a good place to stop, especially since it's noon. Sorry to stop on a little bit of a downer, but I hope you got the sense of what you can do. What I will do after this is provide, we can have another message go out with some more resources. That was on the PowerPoint. But we didn't quite get to it all. Let me just share that I really recommend going to the learn.arcgis.com. That's your best place to get all sorts of training, experience and links. So use that. That's on the PowerPoint or the PDF. Also, there is a MOOC coming up for Learn Spatial Data Science that is free to everyone. So I also highly recommend that. And with that, because the time is up, I'm going to need to stop.
Thank you so much, Karen. This was incredible to see all of the things that you can do with ArcGIS Online. So thank you so much.